And yeah, we are here once again. Mike has defeated the vicious week of work. Repertoire 2 is back to the Twitch mine yard, whatever. Where do you mine? In caves, I guess? Mike, are
Corey,
you okay?
don't lie. Don't lie, Corey. We all know that Repertoire 2, he actually tied me up and threw me in the closet, and that's why he took over.
Oh, whoa.
Yes,
I didn't
it
even
was
know
not.
what's going on in the bedroom, but hey, you know.
I didn't say it was a bedroom, but yes, it was a bedroom. So don't repeat that.
But I'm happy to have you back here, Mike. But something's not right here. There's who's this other guy? Who's
I don't
this?
know. We're on Discord, and I see a third circle. Expose yourself, sir. Who are you?
A third circle, they said. His name was Patrick Hickery Jr., and he was a voice actor and an author and just an overall cool person.
Oh my god, Corey, it's Pablo Francisco. Holy crap.
Yeah, me and Pablo way back. We met at in Little League. No, no, but yes, today we are joined by Patrick Hickery Jr. Welcome, Patrick.
Welcome,
Thanks,
sir.
Happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Glad to have you on. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Patrick, Mike, do you care to elaborate?
Sure. So Patrick Hickery Jr. is apparently a well-known in the video game community for being an author of several books, including The Mind Behind the Games and The Mind Behind Adventure Games, Sports Games, and also voice acting in some indie games such as The Padre, Treason in Space, and personally my favorite, just from the way it sounds, Relentless Rex.
Yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell. There you go.
Yeah, and obviously I'm sure there's much more to that, but this is kind of just what we got from our research, and by research I mean Wikipedia. But you know,
yeah,
I didn't even know I was on Wikipedia. There you go. That makes
sense. You are bigger than you thought. You know.
Oh wow,
someone owes you a paycheck, or maybe
wow,
the paycheck's
that's
for
crazy.
Wikipedia.
If I'm on Wikipedia, then that just like made my day. So, wow, yeah, no, that's awesome.
But yeah, so. Yeah, but we're really happy to have you here, Patrick.
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here too.
Yeah, and yeah, we're gonna have a couple questions. Obviously, we would love to hear, maybe hear about you, like some things about your life that we don't know, and
sure.
Yeah. But again, I'll let Corey take it away with the questions.
Yes, and we're very excited to have you on here. I'm very happy that you reached out to us. Just the little things that we got to read about. You seem like a very talented and interesting fellow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna start it off nice and casual. What
sure.
are your top three favorite games of all time?
Oh, it's like trying to ask somebody like who their favorite children are. You know, it's like
don't worry, we know you have your favorites.
I own over 3,000 games across like 30 consoles. So wow, if I had to pick three, I'd probably say like Fallout New Vegas, Pokemon Red, and classic. NHL 94.
Okay.
Ooh, was that for the Sega? The old school Sega one?
Yeah.
Oh god, I think I have that one too.
I think that might have been the first game I ever played.
Hockey player, the most influential hockey game of all time. I've interviewed the producer of it, and yeah, it's just, I mean, the hockey games would not be like where they are without NHL 94. So
that's so awesome. Nice. Also, Fallout New Vegas, hell of a RPG, man.
Yeah, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 3. I mean, all Obsidian. I love their stuff. Before I started the Minds Behind the Shooter games, which is going to be out in like a month, I wasn't really necessarily like a fan of first-person games, and I used to play Fallout 3 a lot of the time, like in third person, and then I was just like, all my friends would play in first person. I'm like, hey, you know what? Let's try it in first person. And then next thing you know, it's like the only way that I play it now. And I loved the Outer Worlds. Outer Worlds is so much fun, even though it runs like utter crap on the Switch. So yeah, all those types of first person RPGs I really like. So obviously, you could throw in like BioShock, Mass Effect, all those games of those ilk. I'm a big fan of like games like Baldur's Gate, Dark Alliance, Champions of North, X-Men Legends, like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, things like that too. So those are all a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, just rattled off a bunch of great games there that a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, classics, just really well structured.
I mean, I've interviewed a lot of the developers of a lot of those games too, so it's just like knowing how they were made as well just makes you appreciate them that much more. So that's kind of like, I'm the type of person, I go into a retro game store and I could buy a game for like $3 and enjoy that $3 game a lot more than somebody would if they spent 60 on a game, because I've interviewed the developer. I know the things that they went through to make the game, and when I play the game, I kind of see their journey and things like that. So that's kind of like how I game, why I game.
I think that's really cool because a lot of people never sometimes stop to think about that kind of stuff. Like, there's so many amazing games out there. No one, sometimes people, that slips their mind. Like, oh yeah, like a big team of people made this one product that I spent hours and hours enjoying.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
I think people. Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I just want to chime in and say, yeah, I think people kind of like don't really think about the whole development behind games. They kind of just think, I have the game, I'm gonna go play it, but they never think of about what happened to make this game a reality.
Yeah, the story
and I think
behind it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like, it just boggles my mind sometimes, because video games are the largest grossing form of pop culture in the entire world, and it's like if you go to somebody who sings Thriller, they'll go Michael Jackson. It's like, who wrote Romeo and Juliet? They know Shakespeare. But it's like, who created Grand Theft Auto? They'll go Rockstar. And then you're like, no, idiot. Like, Rockstar published it, and Rockstar didn't even originally publish it. Somebody else published it. So who was the guy that came up with the idea for this game?
I couldn't
I was
answer
gonna
that.
say I only know a handful.
So that's I've interviewed people on the original Grand Theft Auto and the original Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto 2 teams and Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. So it's just like, that's my goal, to get you to understand the creation process behind these games, but also to understand that like the people that made these games made great personal sacrifices too. I mean, perfect example, like a game like Aladdin on the Sega Genesis, the producer David Perry slept in his car for pretty much like the entire development cycle, just because he didn't want to waste time going home.
Wow.
And then when you take into the fact that it was a small car and he's 6'8", then it makes you like, wow, this 6'8" guy slept in like a little crappy like sedan for the sake of like his art. And bottom line is, to me, and I think to a growing number of people, video games are in fact art.
I definitely agree.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Yeah.
So it's kind of been like my mission over the past, I've been covering the video game industry for 15 years for like Examiner, NBC, for my site. I write for Old School Gamer magazine, since the day they opened their door. So it's like I've always been that person that does like these lengthy interviews, but it's not until like the last 4 years that I started writing these books that like people started to realize that like, oh, this is like really like my legacy in journalism. And it brings so much happiness to me to be able to like sit down with the developer for a couple of hours and just realize, oh my God, he just told me something that's not on Reddit, that's not on Wikipedia, that's not in a forum somewhere, and it's going to be in the book. And the first time somebody reads it, it's not going to be anywhere else. It's like over the past, 2.5 years that these books have been out, slowly but surely, they've been getting into libraries, and Wikipedia has been linking to them like nonstop, and it's just like starting to get somewhere. So it's been a lot of fun connecting people of all shapes and sizes, races, ethnicities, with the legacies behind these games. So it's been a lot of fun.
Incredible, man.
That
really
is awesome. And yeah, that's one of the best things I love about video games, just the connections that it builds and communities. One of the reasons I honestly started up the podcast initially.
It's like, it's funny because it's like, especially now, the way the world is now, it's like if you find out that like maybe like one of your friends is like Team Red instead of Team Blue, or Team Blue instead of Team Red, you're like, oh, what a piece of garbage. I can't talk to you anymore. Unfollow me. You're not my friend. Blah, 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 blah. But if they go, not really a fan of Super Mario. I'm more of a bonk kind of guy. Or, oh, you know what? I actually prefer Bubsy 3D over Mario. You'll go, really? Wow, you're a loser.
Yeah, you
why?
Don't associate
And you'll
with those
start
people.
but you'll start a conversation with them. You won't cut them out of your life, and you'll just be like, this loser likes Bubsy more than he likes Mario. What's wrong with them? So it's like video games. Even when you don't agree with the person, you still want to know more. You still want to connect with them. That's one of the things I love. And it's like, that's what I feel like my books do, is like they make you a smarter gamer, a smarter consumer. So like you won't just go, oh yeah, that game sucks. Because how does that help anybody? How does that help the developer make better games? How does that help the legacy? That just creates like urban myths, like Night Trap is the most controversial game of all time, or E.T. is the worst game of all time. I mean, both of those statements are like undeniably wrong. It's so easy to just say these games are this, instead of realizing like that there was a lengthy development process behind both of these games, and that there's a history and a legacy, and there's so many things that we don't know because we just want to quote from, Wikipedia and streamers that know just as much as we do, so it's wild.
Well, I'm gonna say right now that Bubsy 3D, I would. That's one game where I would say if you let that game over Mario, we're not friends anymore. That's the one game where we're not gonna find common ground.
See, the thing is though, with Bubsy 3D gave a developer with virtually no video game experience one of his first opportunities in the industry, and without that game, you don't have Siphon Filter. So.
Oh.
Bubsy 3D, for all of its missteps, helped create like one of the best series on the original PlayStation. So that's the thing. It's like when I write these chapters on these games, I'm not just telling you about like the game that was in development. I'm telling you about the developer and the things that he worked on before and the things that he worked on after. So it's like the team, the developer that worked on Siphon Filter also worked on Bubsy 3D, and that team is actually the team that eventually created Days Gone. So that's a 20-year gap where you could make a sandwich between Bubsy 3D, Siphon Filter, and Days Gone. So it's just like, instead of just saying, oh, Bubsy 3D sucks, you could say, yeah, you know what, Bubsy 3D didn't do what it was supposed to do, but Siphon Filter totally did, and Days Gone is pretty sweet. So it's just like I want people to kind of look at the industry and the people behind it a little bit differently than to just like say, oh, a game is good or a game is bad.
I understand. It's kind of like a stepping stone.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I hope you understand. I was only joking.
I know.
Yeah, in all seriousness, yeah, I hate that game, and I would never talk to anybody who ever said that game's okay. Anyway, but no, that's awesome to hear, man. Really, like, and that's it basically. And forgive me, I only had a week to read your books, and I didn't have enough time. But I definitely would let it go in to do that, unless you go in to go and read these read these books of yours and kind of like learn all about this. Kind of like you said, like learn what these developers went through, and then how this led to greater projects.
Absolutely.
How they learn from their mistakes,
or just things that like weren't. Like, some games are just like totally ahead of their time. Sometimes you look at a game and you're just like, this game was so good and nobody even like understood. It's like, think about it. Like, let's go back to Bubsy 3D for a second. Like, a lot of the things that Bubsy 3D tried to do, Jumping Flash did as well. It's just Jumping Flash did it a little bit better and was like a brand new IP. So people were kind of like, oh, what's this? And like Bubsy had a couple like lukewarm games. I mean, I don't think like the original games on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis were that great to begin with. Like they were okay. They were different types of platformers. So I think by the time Bubsy got to the PlayStation, people were kind of like, they were kind of like done with it. And Jumpin' Flash, for some reason, it's basically just a tech demo where you could jump really high. That's like a cult hit. People freaking love Jumping Flash. So it's just weird how games are perceived, and like the media plays a big role in this, like advertising revenues. I'm sure that you remember advertisements for really crappy games, and you bought really crappy games because of great advertising, and you didn't play great games because they had zero advertising. So it's just like there's so many tangibles. It's like I talk about it on my Instagram page all the time. It's like a company like Atlas. So many great RPGs like on the PSP, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation, but they had like no advertising. So it's like you don't know about any of these games. Like most people don't know about like the history of all of these great Atlas games,
Yeah.
definitely.
It's nuts. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
I can't tell you how many games I definitely bought because I was like, "Ooh, this box art looks really cool."
Oh, I love that. I love box art. I stare at box art like all day. It's funny too. Just how important it was. How important box art was 15, 20 years ago. I mean, now not so much, but back in the day, I mean,
Back in the day.
like box art was like everything.
Yeah. I think I talked to Cora about this before, but what I really miss about the old days were the manuals or like the instruction booklets. Oh my god!
Yeah.
We all
Because
do.
like I mean, granted, it's not like you can really see that when you buy the game or before you buy the game, like box art. But it's more like that's something that I just remember like that made some games like so. It just I can't really explain the word. It just made it more.
It created an ambiance, an environment, and this is the thing though too. What a lot of people don't get. I know people that used to be their job to write those manuals, and it's just like it was just one of those things where I mean I used to sit down. This is how bad I was, like as like a 12, 13-year-old in 1995, 1996. I would just take out like all of my Super Nintendo games and I would just start reading through the manuals. It was just something that I used to like to do because, again,
I agree. Yeah.
it was an art form. I used to love like the Electronic Arts games. They had all the ratings for all the players, and I would just kind of like go through with a highlighter and highlight like my favorite players on each team. So this way, whenever I played, I could just go to that page and put in the players that I wanted and things like that. It was just a different way to play, and I feel like a lot of kids now they miss that. They just play to play, and they don't really like embrace all of like the little nuances, and they don't try and experience all of the things that maybe the developer wanted you to experience. So it's a different time.
Yeah. These little like pieces of detail that you can only find in the manuals or even in like the box art. And yeah, I definitely know where you're coming from. I remember Super Smash Brothers Brawl had a little booklet in it, and it would actually tell you some of the characters' special moves. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool to like look at, how to do each of the moves and stuff like that.
Man, I mean, I still remember like in high school sitting down in the cafeteria and being like, how the hell did you beat that guy in Mega Man Legends? And you would have to have conversations and stuff like that. And we would kind of just make fun of the kids that use Game Shark and stuff like that. And now it's kind of like, oh yeah, just pay for this weapon, and you could beat whoever you want. It's just a different time. Like my nephew's 12 and his Nintendo account is linked to my email, and he spends all of this money on like coins for games just to buy items. And I'm like, if you play the game, like you'll get it, and he's got no interest in actually like playing the game. He would much rather just have a souped up character from the start. And it's just like, that's not the way I played games as a kid.
Yeah, it's just a different culture for gamers nowadays,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I mean, that was a great discussion from just our first question, and we still have several more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. That if we're gonna have a tangent, I'm glad it was a tangent like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great, podcast material. It's quite all right. We can do that for another 2 to 3 hours, and this podcast will be great. All right. Enough breaking the fourth wall, though. Mike, do you have some questions you'd like to ask?
Absolutely. 1 second. I actually just got carried away, and I lost my questions. Here we go.
You just deleted them all.
Shut up. All right. So here's a question. Like, obviously, like we learned about how the books the books that you've written, the purpose behind them. The voice acting, I'm sure, is just kind of like something that just came up out of the blue, maybe possibly from interviewing the right people. But my one question is, where did the voice acting come from? What started that?
So what happened was, I had just finished the first book, The Minds Behind the Games, and I'm the editor-in-chief, CEO, Grand Poobah, owner of ReviewFix.com, and I interview video game developers, musicians, playwrights, like tons of different people every day for the site. And even though I was writing the books, I never stopped like working on the site. So when I finished the first book, I kind of wanted to jump back in, start dedicating a little bit more time to the site. So I found this indie game called Padre, and I wanted to interview the team. So I message them, I interview them. I find out that I'm the first person to interview them, which was pretty cool. That's happened a bunch of times in my career. So we did a really good interview. Then they asked me to play the beta of the game, or the alpha, and I just noticed, like, right from the beginning that there was a ton of typos, like grammatically, in the story. And I've been a college professor for 15 years. I teach English and journalism. And I was like, guys, like, this is a point and click, like, survival horror game. The text is extremely important. And if it's riddled with typos, it's going to be really hard for you guys to, make money. So if you want to bring me in to edit, let's talk. And I could do that for you. If not, then at least you know that you got to go get somebody, And they were like, no, we want you. So we came up with a price. They paid me. And like 2 weeks later, they messaged me again. They had a whole bunch of other texts. So they're like, no, you're a member of the team now. You're like the story editor. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So now they decided that they want to go to Kickstarter, and they want me to edit the Kickstarter, which, I mean, is a daunting task. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. It's like, oh yeah, make sure this thing that we need to, like, make a ton of money is perfect grammatically and stylistically and looks decent and stuff. It was just a lot of pressure. But of course I said yes, because it was my first paying gig in the industry. I was super happy. About 2 weeks before the Kickstarter was supposed to go live, the voice actor left.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And they were, like, petrified. And my answer was, well, he wasn't that good in the first place. And they were like, what? And I was like, it's supposed to be like this dark survival horror game. And he sounds like Russell Brand. It's just like, this dark Englishman. I'm just, like, walking through and just, like, shooting people. It's just like, And I'm like, ugh. It just didn't work. So they're like, do you think that you could do better? And I'm like, yeah, sure.
And then you did your movie announcer voice, and you're just like,
no.
You're fired.
Well, what happened was I knew that I couldn't do that voice.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be ridiculous. Like, for trailers, that voice is fine. Like, I've done trailers for games with that voice. It's fine. It gets the job done. Served me well. But their main character had an English voice, so I'm just like, I need to find a way. When you think survival horror, you definitely think bassy, like deep bassy, like for a main character,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I was thinking something along the lines of like Michael Wilcott meets like Jeremy Irons, kind of thing. And
I just bloody came across this dark English voice. My name is Alexander, and I am the Padre.
And I sent it to them, and they were like, can you record like all like 2,000 lines today? And I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I can do it. And it's just like, just to find that voice, like, it just ripped my vocal cords like to hell.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
But I did, and then it was like the same day on the Steam page. Like, if you downloaded the game on Steam that day, like, my voice was in the game. And it was just like, I was just like, holy crap, this is insane. So we ended up not getting funded on Kickstarter. And I just think it was because the game was too niche, a survival point and click game. But we ended up getting like a really dedicated fan base, and we ended up getting picked up by a publisher. And the game was released on Xbox One and Switch and PS4 and Steam. And the sequel is actually coming out next week.
Very cool.
Oh,
Padre, one shell straight to hell. And it's not a point and click survival horror anymore. It's more like a top down, like, tower defense meets like Super Contra shooter. It's actually really cool. So it's still got the same main character, and you're still like fighting zombies and like this haunted mansion and stuff, but it's a shooter, which is a lot more fun to me. It's a lot more frenetic. So if you would have told me 3 years ago that I'd be working on my 7th book, I would tell you that you were crazy. If you would have told me 3 years ago that I would have been in, like 5 or 6 games. There's 3. Let's see, 1, 2. There's 3 games right now that I'm working on as a voice actor / editor, and then there's 2 games that I worked on last year that I signed NDAs for that are going to be released this year. So it's just like, by the end of this year, I'll have voice acted and written in one way or another, like in 9 games. If you would have told me that 3 years ago, I would have thought that you were crazy. And it all started just from telling a developer, like, listen, your game needs some work. And rather than be like every other critic that's just going to say this sucks, I'm telling you that if you need me to fix it, I'm willing to put the time and energy in to fix it. You just have to pay me what I feel like I'm worth. And that's what happened.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Just by being blunt and transparent, you'd be surprised like what you could get in life. You know, just by telling people how you feel and not using words like but and you know, assumingly and kinda and maybe,
The
you know,
fluff words.
all these words that don't really mean anything. If you just like kind of cut all of those words out of your vocabulary and just tell people how you feel when you feel that way, I mean, you're going to get in a lot of fights with people, but you'll also know like who's full of it and who's not, and you'll be able to accomplish a lot more. So that's kind of like the type of person I am. It's just like, let's cut the fluff and let's make money. Let's get stuff done. Let's be productive. Like, I mean, this is like what life is supposed to be about, instead of just wasting all of this time saying nothing, you know? And I think the people that I've worked with over the past couple of years, I think they appreciate that a lot more than the people that don't like me because of it.
Very well said. I'll tell you.
Wise words to live by.
Indeed. It's funny because like I kind of want to comment and say like but that's exactly the mentality and personality you need, I think, in life as a whole. Even when it comes to something as simple as like, for example, my YouTube channel, you just have to. And I'm sorry, I'm not the best speaker here, but it's like that drive you have, like where it's like just cut the fluff. It's kind of like that, like no excuses. Get down to it and do what you have to do. That's
I mean, because I mean, at the end of the day, nobody cares. You know, it's like if you're like, oh, I'm sick. Oh, you know, oh, my dog died. Like, people will go, oh, I'm so sorry. But in the back of their head, they'll go, well, where's the work?
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, that's sad, but we really don't care. You know?
So you've got to find a way. You've got to find a way every day. Like today's February 2nd, I put like a list of things that I'm getting done this month on my refrigerator. And it's like 5 or 6 things, and I'm going to crack them all out by the end of the month. You know, it's like that's, and then on my Mac, I have like little stickies of things that I have to get done every day. And this podcast was on there. I'm actually going to take it off right now. There you go. And I don't go to bed until I get everything done. So that means some nights I get 3 hours of sleep and some nights I get 6, you know? So it's just, that's, if you want to be productive, those are the things that you have to do. And I mean, it's like I tell people all the time, I've interviewed developers at 3 o'clock in the morning in my kitchen for my books. I've interviewed people in their hotel rooms in New York City to get this done. I've taken days off of work. I've worked on my birthday. I've worked on my anniversary. I've worked on my kid's birthday. Like, I've done all sorts of things like that because I feel like the work that I'm doing means something, you know? And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to work on things that give you some type of gratification and make the next day mean something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, man. Like I was gonna say, because like that's kind of why with like me and YouTube, because obviously I have like a full-time career. I now have a fiance, I live in them, but like I still want to make time to get some stuff done that I want to do. Like, and I've heard people say like, why bother? It's not like your channel is that popular. I don't care. I want to do it. I'm going to do it. I mean, there have been times where I have like, you know, gotten less sleep than I wanted to because I wanted to get some stuff rendered and edited and stuff like that, you know? So, and that's something as simple as like a hobby that I have, not even like when it comes to like your career. And then there's, sorry, I know this is a bit of a tangent, but if there's one thing I can't stand is when people do like make those kind of like excuses when it comes to their actual career. It's like, I'm sorry, like there are people like real people in this world, they don't have time for someone like you if you're going to keep making excuses.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is too, like the only difference between a hobby and a career is, I mean, it's time. You know, how much time are you willing to put into it? There's so many people that they've spent like years working, doing one thing, and then they found out that they were better at something else, and then they just changed the time that they allotted to those things, and all of a sudden the hobby becomes
a career. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so when people, if anyone ever tells you, oh, your show's not that popular, then you just tell them, yet it's not that popular yet. You know, it's just anyone that puts stock to and how many followers your accounts have and things like that. I mean, that's silly. You know, like, oh, I'm not gonna. I see it happen with influencers. I love influencers. They're great. They think just because they have like 5,000 people following them that their voice means more than somebody else. It doesn't. You know, it just, if there's a brevity, a quality to like what you're saying, eventually the followers are going to come. You know, you just have to find a way to connect with people in as honest and charismatic a way as possible. It's like last year, like right before COVID started, I was like getting ready to quit, you know, Instagram like altogether. I was just done with it. I'm like, I post 1 million times a day. I'm not getting follows. I'm not getting likes. I don't get it, you know? And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want. And I'm not even going to care about followers. And then like, since then, I mean, I've gotten my followers have like tripled. So Stone Cold Steve Austin once said that like true success is you being you with the volume turned way up. So that's the hardest thing, just to find out who you are and then just unabashedly be that person and not care, you know? So some people waste their entire lives. They have no idea who they are and what they can accomplish. The key is to like find out who you are as quickly as possible and then use your skills in a way that benefits you in the best way possible. You know, it's hard.
Well, Patrick, I think you can now add motivational speaker to your resume.
I know, right? I feel like I'm learning something. I should be writing my own notes down.
Awesome.
Oh, man. Well, this is great, man.
All right.
I'm really enjoying these
awesome
thoughts.
tangent from that.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
No, good tangents.
Oh,
It's a lot of fun. Yeah. And
I know. I said good tangent. Yeah.
I think that some people do need to hear this kind of stuff, and it will inspire a lot of people and create that fire, so to say, to be like, okay, it's time to get this stuff, you know. Some people need to find their way. It's important. All right. I got another question for you, Patrick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who are some of your inspirations?
You guys are probably going to laugh. Diamond Dallas Page, Chris Jericho. Let's see. I'm trying to think of who else. People that have like been successful in like several different like forms of media. The Rock. You know, people that are just like The Rock is like the voice of a Disney character. The Rock is an action star. He's a professional wrestler. He's an actor. He's like, you know, it's like Chris Jericho is a motivational speaker. He's a best-selling author. He's sold millions of records. He's wrestled in like 4 different decades. You know, Diamond Dallas Page, great wrestler, was a owner of several successful nightclubs in New Jersey in the 70s. He freaking has one of the best like fitness programs in the entire world. You know, it's just like I like people like that. People that
they do more than one thing.
Yeah, but also people that don't peak. It's like so I'm 37. And I have people that I know from like high school and stuff, and they're just like, man, you just keep doing stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yeah, because that's why we're here, you know. And it's like I never wanted to be that type of person, because I mean it's coming. The 25-year high school, you know, reunion. I never wanted to be one of those people that somebody looks at me and goes, damn, they were awesome when they were 18, but they're just like a piece of crap now. Like they really hit the wall. You know, I want somebody to look at me at like 40 or 43 and be like, wow, like there's something there. Like this person's like, they either drink a lot of coffee. Like, how do they fit all that time into the day? How do they, you know, it's like, that's the thing. It's like you look at Michael Jordan and he sticks his tongue out and he jumps through the air and he makes it look easy. And the thing is, it's not easy, but he makes it look easy. So it's just like, that's kind of always been like the way that I've always wanted to be. One of those people that you're like, how do they find time to do all that stuff? Husband, father, voice actor, professor, writer. How do they find the time to do all that stuff? It's like, I'll gladly tell you, but chances are you probably don't want to do it. So, but the thing is, that's kind of how I've always, those are the people that motivate me. People that just have like a tireless work ethic, tons of passion, tons of energy, tons of fire. So
that's awesome, man. It's funny because like I would definitely say like I have a like someone I look to as like motivation, and it's because I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned it, but like my like not just level with me, but like my own personal YouTube is actually about collectibles, and my biggest inspiration is probably Rudy from Alpha Investments. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of him, but he is like the exact kind of guy that you talked about. Like it's almost like the best word to describe him is he's an entrepreneur. He just does everything, and he has that drive, and he just does. It's like, and people can look back and say, well, what do you do? And it's not just and don't get me wrong, having a family is, I think, a great feat. You can say, well, I have a lovely family. That's awesome. Good for you. But someone like Rudy, or like you said, all the people that you mentioned, they do so much more, and they just keep doing things. Yeah. It's like just incredible, you know?
Yeah, because it's just like, I feel like if you're one of those people that's defined by like one thing, you only affect one type of person. You know? So it's just like, I mean, there are plenty of streamers out there that like you'll go, why do you watch their stream? And you'll go, have you seen her? She's hot. One day she might not be, and you may not watch her stream anymore. Or, oh, he's really funny. Sometimes you're not in the mood to watch somebody that's funny. You know, so you may only watch that guy when you're in the mood to laugh. But if you can find somebody that has like some, like almost like an ogre, you know, from Shrek, like an onion, layers, you know, somebody that you can watch and you can grow with. I mean, those are people that I feel like are like timeless. It's like Betty White, you know.
Betty White.
Why do people like Betty White? Because every character that she could play the oblivious like older lady on Golden Girls, and then Hot in Cleveland she was more of like a bitch, you know. So it's just like Mary Tyler Moore, she was a different type of character. So it's just like that's the thing. Great people can lend themselves to the human experience. They can give you so many different sides. I mean, again, to go back to professional wrestling, Mick Foley played like 5 different characters, and each one of those characters resonated with people in different ways. So that's what you have to do. You have to find a way to connect yourself to as many different people as possible. So, and it's by opening as many different parts of yourself and sharing them as possible. I mean, that's the key. That's like the real key to success. It's like being as open and transparent with people as possible, and not, so it's like you could tell people, oh, this is what I did to be successful, but then you could also try and show people, you know, that's what I think true success is. It's like being successful for yourself, but then opening those same doors for somebody else. Not a lot of people like to do that. A lot of people like to hide it, you know, hide the secret. It's like, no, this is what I did, but no. So it's hard.
No, I hear you, man. It's like, teach a man to fish and he'll fish forever, or he'll eat forever, you know? Like,
yeah.
I agree. Like, I rather like be taught how to do something as opposed to being handed something, you know?
Absolutely.
Right.
Awesome. Very well said.
I agree. Mike, do you have any more questions you'd like to ask?
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions. I'm trying to think of the best ones to ask, actually. Let me see. Here's a good one. So, Patrick, despite everything that we've learned thus far, and we've learned a lot of amazing things, is there anything that you plan to do in the future?
I've got 4 more books coming. Within like the next 2 years, at least 4 more books. 3 I signed contracts for. 1 I'm working on. I haven't pitched it to anyone else yet. But definitely more books. Definitely more voice acting. I mean, those are the things that I want to do really like the rest of my life. So, I definitely I would love to get into the comic book industry at one point. I would definitely love to write a comic book. I wrote a play in 2019 that obviously like COVID kind of killed. But I mean, one day I would love to do that. I mean, I'd love to wrestle a match one day, like, you know, like just for shits and giggles. I think that would be a lot of fun. There's tons of things, I mean, that I want to do.
No, that's all. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have been more specific. I meant like obviously I kind of assumed that you would be doing more books and more voice acting. I meant like just like new things that you haven't done before, things that are on like your bucket list. That's kind of what I meant.
So
and you did name a few, but yeah, if you have any more, yeah, please continue.
I mean, I definitely like to travel some more. Definitely like to travel to Japan, to Germany. Definitely want to coach like my kids in some type of sport. That was always like a dream of mine, to be like my little girl's like softball coach or something like that, or my son's hockey coach.
Very nice.
So, those are like kind of on my bucket list.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm pretty like a straight ahead, simple guy. I like to travel some more. Spend a lot of time with my family. Keep doing these books. I mean, every day, like I come up with different ideas and different games and different people I want to speak to. So like, I just want to keep it going.
In terms of
That's
traveling,
awesome.
what were you looking at?
So I mean, I would love to go to Japan for like a week and just go to like Sega's headquarters and go to Sony's headquarters and go to Nintendo's headquarters and watch some New Japan Pro Wrestling, and just to take in the whole, the whole experience of being there. Like I've been to Mexico before, and that was a lot of fun. I didn't get a chance to watch any wrestling there, but that would have been great. See some AAA or some lucha, that would have been great. But I definitely, really cool. That's what I want to do. I just want to, like, all the stuff that I love, I just want to encompass my life with all of the things that I love and care about. Like I've been to LA before. That was a lot of fun. Kansas City, I went to the Negro League Hall of Fame. I love baseball. I love baseball history and things like that. So I've never been to Canada, and I'm like a huge hockey fan. I covered pro hockey for like a decade. So one day I've got to get to Canada. So stuff like that. Definitely more traveling.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. Traveling is great. And yeah, I would definitely love to adventure outside the States as well myself.
Mm-hmm.
Funny enough, I was just talking to one of my buddies about making a Japan trip at some point.
Nice.
Everything starts to open up again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, same here. It's like I'm not going to risk, like I have a 3-year-old and a 8-month-old, so I'm not going to risk like traveling right now, and I would never want to get them sick or anything like that just because I wanted to go somewhere. So I'm going to have to just do it from home from now on.
And I definitely agree with, what you were saying about just experiencing the different cultures and kind of just living in it. It's a different thing than just watching it on TV or on your computer screen, whatever.
Especially as a writer. Like, as a writer, you need to experience things. And there's only so much that you can experience through, like, YouTube. Like, you've got to feel, like, you could see Japan, like, on YouTube, but you've got to feel Japan. You've got to be there.
Absolutely, yeah. I agree. All right, I saved the hard-hitting questions for last.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, who's your Smash main?
Oh, I'm probably going to lose a lot of people right now when I say this.
Oh,
but
boy.
Try us.
So I ran Smash tournaments at a video game store near my home
really cool.
For probably about a year. And it just killed the whole franchise for me. Like, because I just watched endless amounts of Smash for like a year, and just running like the whole brackets and things like that, and just watching all of these people play over and over again. If I had to answer, I would probably say Link.
Oh,
I like Link. He's not the easiest player. He's not the easiest character to play with. But I just like the way that his combos and I just like the way he feels as a character. I've seen a couple of really talented players do things with Sonic that really like made me go, holy crap. But I could never do them. So yeah, Link is just like a really steady, solid character that I enjoy playing with in Smash.
Oh man, you just made Corey's pants tight.
Link main, baby. Internet high five. Yeah, that's what I like to hear. And I think that's really cool that you actually did Smash tournaments as well, because last year I just started trying to build that community as well, and I started to go to local video games shops and compete in Smash Ultimate, and it was really cool. It is a shame about the situation with the pandemic, but
yeah, we used to get like 30, 35 people at Brooklyn Video Games in Brooklyn, obviously. But we used to get like on a Friday night, like 30, 35 people. And I would promote them and organize them. And then I would ref and help run the Twitch. And like, I would get paid to do that and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. But then, having kids, you kind of have to, you kind of have to pick your lions, so to speak. And I was just like, yeah, I can't do this every Friday night when my poor wife is home with the kids, So I kind of stepped away from it, and then it like I said, it kind of killed the franchise for me because I just saw it so much that it's just like whenever I see it, I'm just like, oh, like I need to play something else. So
that's
it's still
understandable.
it's a great franchise, but it's just like imagine how somebody feels that like worked in like Burger King for like 5 years,
Right.
And now they hate burgers.
And now they hate burgers,
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I'm not like, I think I posted on Instagram the other day. It was like the first Smash, because we've had tournaments in the first Smash before too, and I was just like, I feel like the first Smash is like terribly overrated. I feel like once it got to like GameCube, it really like found its stride.
I would agree with that. I think
but like a couple of people like, are you crazy? It's a great game. And I'm like, listen, you can look at it with rose-colored glasses all you want. I was like, the GameCube version is 1,000 times better. So yeah.
You're 100%
awesome.
right. Yeah. One of my favorite series of all time, but I definitely get where you're coming from with.
I mean, I own basically every version of Smash Brothers, so it's like there's definitely like a soft spot of it for me, but it's just it's like after I unlock all of the characters, I'm kind of done. Just like some people, they'll just play it, like they'll unlock everything and then they'll keep playing and they'll spend hundreds of hours, and I'm just like, after I've unlocked all of the characters and then bought like the DLC that I want to get like other characters, I'm just kind of like, when my nephew comes over, I'll play, but it's not like one of those games where I'm just like, I could like Pokemon, I can spend hundreds of hours playing Pokemon, and there's so many different like tangibles, and like I'm always creating new teams and things like that. And Fallout, I love to like just erase a save in Fallout and start from the beginning and play a character as like a total douchebag, or play a character as like an anti-hero, and like Smash Brothers doesn't have that fluidity for me to do that. Like a hockey game, I could play a hockey game every day, and then I just make some trades and make a team play a little bit more different and try and play a different team and but I can't do that in Smash Brothers. So yeah.
Yeah, to each their own,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and everyone goes through different flows and tastes and stuff like that. So yeah,
sure.
You don't have to explain yourself for not liking game or whatnot. It's perfectly understandable. Like you just said earlier, you got 3,000 games. Clearly, you do like a lot of different games.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, you got any more questions?
Yeah, I got my final hard-hitting question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready for this, Patrick?
Sure.
So, what is your favorite pizza topping, and why is it meatball?
Well, Meeple is the name of my dog. So
don't eat your dog. No.
Yeah.
It's destiny.
Yeah, that's crazy. I actually do like meatballs on my pizza. It's actually really good.
Corey, we've come full circle. I'm so
met
happy.
Someone. Yep.
But my favorite type of pizza is it's a Domino's thin crust with sausage and salami.
Oh, interesting.
It's actually really good.
Whoa.
So like they put the salami first, then they put the tomato sauce on top of the salami, then the cheese, then the sausage. It's freaking amazing. And it's thin crust, so it's like a potato chip with just tons of shit on top of it. It's amazing. So that's like that's my preferred pizza. So definitely like I went to Chicago a couple of years ago and I had to try like deep dish, and I was just like, oh my god, this is awful, because it's all
I was not a fan. I was not a fan of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Brooklyn. A Brooklyn slice is a lot less dough. It's a lot snappier. But like for me, thin crust is the best. So because I'd rather I'm more of a cheese and sauce guy than the dough, because the dough is what fills you up anyway. Like I want the protein. I want the good stuff.
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
The flavor.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
all right, perfect.
With that being said, I think we're done with our questionnaire, and now we can just kind of transition to the good old-fashioned Level With Me podcast. Gentlemen, if you please. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level With Me podcast, episode 82. I am one of your hosts, Game Bro Corey, and I am joined by one of my co-host, Mike, aka the Collector's Vault. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Corey. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Level with Me. I'd like to. I'm sure you guys have been here since the beginning. I'm sure you've all heard the beautiful voice of Pablo Francisco over here. Pablo, how you doing today?
Doing very good.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciated.
Yeah, in all seriousness, Patrick, we're so happy to have you here. And so now and thank you so much for answering our questions and telling us about your life, your career, and your aspirations. Like we really do appreciate it. But but now we're gonna get you into what we do, which is just talk about some games.
Sure.
So.
Is it okay if I just say one more thing before we get started?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry. Yeah, go right ahead.
No, it's okay. So it's just basically like if you guys are interested in any of the stuff that I do, you can head to patrickhickeryjr.com. All the books are available there, but also Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Books A Million, Indigo, like wherever fine books are sold digitally, you can buy a copy of the book. However, the best way to support an author is to buy directly. So if you go to patrickhickeryjr.com and you order directly from me, not only will you be supporting me in the best way possible, but I'll also connect with you. I'll get an email from you and I'll ship the book out to you. I'll sign it, but it's just like perfect example. Like if you buy a copy of The Minds Behind the Sports Games and you're from Cincinnati, you're going to get like some Cincinnati Reds and like Cincinnati Bengals, like football cards and baseball cards in your book. You know, it's just like if you're from Detroit, you're going to get like some Pistons and Tigers and Red Wings cards and stuff like that. So it's just like if you're a Pokemon fan, you know, I'll put some Pokemon stickers or whatever in your book. So just like because of COVID, it's super hard for authors to connect with their readers. So if you buy directly from me, it's kind of like you're meeting me, you know, and it's just something that I really enjoy doing. I put one of my readers, he just bought his first book from me a couple of days ago, and he's constantly posting Game Gear games on there. So I snuck in a couple of Game Gear games in his bag, and he got his book, and he was just like, the last thing I was expecting was any Game Gear games. I'm like, well, I had doubles, so enjoy. You know, so if you're interested in the things that I'm doing, then just patrickhickeryjr.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at Patrick Hickery Jr. And and we'll get to know each other.
That's really cool. You almost have like your own little loot box or mystery box, you know, with each little book you get. And I agree, like it's cool that you get to actually like contact you and talk to like the buyer and the author, because like you said, with the times, it is hard for those interactions.
Best thing. It's the best thing. It's so much better than Amazon. You get the book in like 2 days, but like with me, you'll get it in like 4, but you'll get a book that's like unlike any other book like in the world. It'll be your book, you know? So
that's really
cool. Patrick, I'm going to go buy one of your books, and I like Teslas. So please include a Tesla with it, okay?
Oh, okay. Maybe
I really like PlayStation 5s.
Yeah.
Well, now you're asking for a miracle, Corey. Come on.
You guys are funny.
If anyone could do it.
It's Patrick Hickey. Come on.
And we'll, of course, have all those links down in the description, so you guys can go check that out. And please support him, because he's a great guy.
Thank you.
But with that being said, now we're going to transition back into the normal filth that you're used to hearing. And we're going to start with some video game news. First off here, this is might be one of the first collectibles related news that we've seen in the past few months.
It feels good to actually get like kind of delve into my territory a little bit.
How about Mike? Why don't you take the wheel of the news story here? Considering
I can.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, wait. I have to go put on a bow tie really quick.
Don't forget your helmet. Okay.
I got the helmet. I got my my mouth guard. I'm good to go. All right, Coach, put me in.
Is it one of those spinny bow ties that goes? Woo! I can't do the noise.
Yeah, I also have one of the little beanie hats with the propeller on it.
Take it away.
So, the world's most expensive Magic the Gathering card has smashed its own price record. The world's most expensive Magic the Gathering card, the Black Lotus, has broken its own auction record, selling for more than $500,000.
Crazy.
I know, unbelievable. As reported by Polygon, a 93 Black Lotus with a case signed by the card's illustrator, Christopher Rush, who actually has passed away, which is a big reason why it's impossible to get, his signature anymore, has sold for $511,100 on eBay. This is triple the price of Black Lotus, which sold for $166,000 in 2019. Whew, man.
That's like a
That's-
mansion in New Jersey.
Yeah, like
$511,000.
Or you could have
Like,
one Magic the
ugh.
Gathering card.
yeah,
yeah.
that could buy
Hey,
you like a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house with a finished basement in New Jersey.
yeah. Or you can have a piece of cardboard. Personally,
Or
I
you
would
have a piece of
cardboard.
With someone's signature on it.
Yeah.
Oh my god, funny Magic story. I forgot what developer it was, but he was telling me one of his first jobs, he's walking through Sony, and he's interviewing for a job, and these guys were playing Magic, and he's like, "Oh, you guys play Magic here?" And the producer on the game was like, "You play Magic?" And he's like, "No." And he found out later that if he would have said yes, the producer wasn't going to hire him because he didn't want anyone that played Magic on his team.
Oh wow.
Oof, salty players.
Yeah. So yeah, every time I hear Magic, I just think of that story, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't.
That's hysterical. Yeah. I will say though, like I personally am not a fan of Magic the Gathering, but I am definitely someone who is. I am. What's a good word? I respect it, and I try to learn as much as I can about it because it is the first real big trading card game of all. Like, and it is, I would say, the most popular trading card game of all time in the world currently, and definitely the most where the money is. And yeah, the Black Lotus is it's unbelievable. A little fun fact is that the Black Lotus Alpha is the very first Magic set ever made, and it was more of like a proof of concept. Like, yes, there are boxes and packs that were sold in stores, but like it started out in the West, and so there weren't that many that were made. Again, it was more just like kind of like, as you say, kind of like a Kickstarter almost. They kind of just made these, and they actually were giving a lot of these away for free at like malls and conventions to say, yeah, like this is a new game we're making. We just want you guys to give it a shot and try it out. And people would, I'm sure there have been people who have held a Black Lotus and threw it in the trash when they said, this is kind of stupid, and just threw it away. But now it's worth a mansion in New Jersey. It's kind of crazy to think about that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny. And if you guys are looking at the article, this is actually a Gem Mint 10 PSA Black Alpha Lotus. Gorgeous card. Quite gorgeous. Yeah. I'm more of a Magic, I'm more of a Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh fan, but yeah, this is pretty insane. And I personally love seeing how like that the collectible card market is really soaring. It definitely is getting some more popularity, more time in the spotlight, I guess. Some of the big YouTubers like Logan Paul have been getting involved with Pokemon. I think even just recently he got involved in Pokemon, a Pokemon purchase again. So we might see some Charizards out there breaking some more record prices as well. So pretty cool stuff.
It's kind of crazy to see just how this nostalgia for like getting the cards has kind of made this market, explode.
Oh yeah.
Really, what else is it besides like, oh, I want the original like core set of Pokemon cards? Because most of these people who are collecting the cards they aren't necessarily even using them to play, right? It's just a collection thing.
You can, and it's funny. There are people who play like they call it playing vintage when you play with the, because like a lot of these cards are just banned and not allowed to be played anymore. I think Magic follows like a set rotation kind of format thing, and so apparently if you have a Black Lotus, because there are multiple prints of it, like I think there's like 4 prints of it, so you can technically play with the card, but it's kind of frowned upon to think, man, like you're playing with a card, because even the cheapest version of a Black Lotus is probably like a couple $1,000s. In near mint condition. So I would say if you have a beat up one, maybe that's one you can kind of justify playing with. But yeah, majority of the people they're not even playing with these cards. If anything, they'll probably just use a proxy because they don't want to damage the original actual card itself.
Mm-hmm.
I recently was in the market into buying cryptocurrency, considering what was going on with the stock markets. Dogecoin was trending, and people thought that was going to be a big new thing.
Believe in Doge.
I feel like cryptocurrencies could be compared to card games at this point. Like, which card game did you invest in? And those cards are going to be worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars one day. Because who would have thought that a Charizard card would be worth, $300,000 or whatever it's going for? Like, it's wild.
There was an article I read like 2 weeks ago where they were actually talking about that they were going to reprint all of those original cards, and a lot of people were pissed off because
for Magic, you mean?
No, for Pokemon.
I think they are doing it for Pokemon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they have reprinted them before. I mean, do you mean like they try to reprint first edition base? That'd be a big mistake. The funny thing is, because technically they can't replicate the original card stock that they used back in 1998. So technically, if they were to do it, it would never be the same. They could. I think they said it's almost impossible to replicate the card stock of that era.
Wow.
Yeah, like now, if what you're saying is true, I think that's kind of cool. I can see them saying it's just first ed base reprint, and probably like, oh look, here's Pokemon.
The nostalgia pack.
Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting name. Yes, something like that. But hey, who knows? The Pokemon Company, they make a lot of crazy decisions. So who knows? Who knows what they'll do? But yeah.
Hey, we were just talking about GameStop and Dogecoin and whatnot. We got a story about it. Competing GameStop movies in works at Netflix and MGM. So soon after MGM announced a GameStop stock movie, from the author of the book The Social Network was based on, Netflix is coming in with its own GameStop stock movie. Deadline reports that Netflix is talking with The Hurt Locker and Zero Dark 30 writer Mark Bowl to write a movie based on the big financial conundrum. To All the Boys I've Loved Before star Noah Centineo, is also attached to play a major role in the film. Centineo will also be seen in the upcoming Black Adam movie starring Dwayne Johnson as the character Adam Smasher. And there's also an update to this article. As if two different GameStop stock movies weren't enough, Deadline is reported a limited series TV series is also in the works from industry newcomer Pinky Promise. Tentatively titled To the Moon, the limited series is being fast-tracked through the development and will cover the r/Wall Street Bets drama. This is the third project in the Wall Street News to go into development, with the two others being films. It's kind of shocking to me that, like, you know, this happened within a week or two, and already Hollywood is like, oh, we gotta milk in on this, you know. It's kind of crazy to me how fast these wheels start turning.
I don't think it's shocking. I mean, considering the fact that, like, Hollywood has been out of ideas forever. You know, it's like, it's the reason why anytime you have a successful license in one form of media, it automatically, like, they try and make something out of it. Like in Hollywood, it's just like, because when was the last time, like, that there was like this really sexy idea that originated in film that, like, ended up becoming like getting sequels and, like, inspiring video games and inspiring a comic book, and it just doesn't happen anymore. It's always the other way around now, that it's a video game first, or it's a comic book first, or it's this first before it becomes a movie. It's just like, people have learned over the past, like, 15-20 years that, like, great ideas usually have a lot more weight in other forms of media before they become a movie, you know. So it's just like Hollywood is willing to, like, take a risk on pretty much anything now, as long as it's, like, palatable and they could see people watching it. So I mean, if you guys farted and, like, enough people heard it, you could hear, like, a screenwriter typing away at, like, you know, typing away somewhere. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. I also just think that people enjoy this kind of, like, controversy around it.
Sure.
Something about this is vaguely reminding me of, like, when all the Fyre Fest documentaries and things like that popped up, though the incidents aren't exactly the same. But yeah, I kind of see it, and I definitely do agree with you. Like, there isn't that many original ideas, so it does kind of make sense that they would, you know, gravitate towards something like this.
I mean, it's like it's almost like another biopic. It's just not of a person, it's of a period in time. It's just, and it's funny to me though that, like, the guy that did Zero Dark 30 could go from that to this. It's just, again, it's just proof that it's super hard for people to come up with ideas, and that people are looking for inspiration anywhere that they could get it right now.
Yeah, I can see that. It's funny. I think someone did mention this before that like how basically, how do you word it? That every story ever has already been told. Basically, now people are. I mean, which is not exactly true, but it's more like so people are now or Hollywood right now is just trying to take things that already exist and try to do their own spin on it. So that being said, I think that's why it is kind of hard. Where coming up with something original is just it is harder than it seems. Definitely, and I think. Like this whole thing that's happening on Wall Street is definitely going to go down in history books. Like I'm pretty sure like business schools are going to be learning about this. And teaching students.
It's just everything gets fast tracked now. It's just like the governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. He wrote a book about like COVID, about how he dealt with COVID, and it came out like 2 months ago. It's like you're still dealing with it. It's just like people we're trying to fast track this stuff out. It's like. Reality shows really did like a number on entertainment because reality shows like just it releases the inhibition of being a voyeur, of getting like that instant gratification of like what's going on right now. Everything that's going on right now. So it's just like Hollywood now, if something happens, they don't want to wait 10 years, 15 years for the movie. It's just like this literally just happened last week and people are like, we need the movie now. It's just wow. We don't know everything that happened yet. The story could be so much deeper. So it's just like you're going to see maybe there's a huge difference in these two movies by which one took longer to do more research and which one worked harder on their story. It just creates an interesting time for media.
No, indeed. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And you know what? I honestly welcome these kind of movies as opposed to all these like COVID-19 related movies Hollywood is working on. Like I would much prefer learning about this than oh no, here's the strain of COVID that turns everyone into zombies. Yeah. Anyways, though, we're gonna move on here. Enough about movies and trading cards. This is a video game podcast. Damn it, you guys want video game news? We're coming right here with you, or we're bringing it to you. What's a good video game? Mass Effect. You know what's coming out soon? Mass Effect. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, May release date announced. For those looking to re-experience the acclaimed trilogy or jump in for the first time, EA and BioWare have announced the Mass Effect Legendary Edition collection will be available worldwide on May 14th for PC via Origin and Steam, PS4, and Xbox One. While there won't be specific next-gen versions available, the Legendary Edition will be available to play on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S via backwards compatibility. EA has confirmed that the Legendary Edition includes the single-player content for Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3, along with more than 440 pieces of downloadable content, including story expansions, weapons, and armor packs, and all content will be playable in 4K Ultra HD with HDR, according to EA. What a incredible bundle for players who haven't been able to experience any of these games. Honestly, me. I briefly touched the original Mass Effect a few years ago.
But what about the best game in the series, Andromeda? I'm joking.
Well, I don't know. They might have to dig through a couple of landfills to find a copy of that one.
Oh man, I was actually in a GameStop like 3 weeks ago, and they know my name there. I'm like Norm from Cheers when I go in there, and they give me free games all the time, like all the time. Like I leave with like bags of stuff, and like games that people don't want, games that like people tried to trade in that they wouldn't get any money for and stuff. And I've literally gotten like 4 copies of Mass Effect Andromeda. So it's
you should instead of 4 copies, you should say 4 new coasters.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, everybody needs more toilet paper, so hey, there you go.
There you go. Teach his own.
So bad. But yeah, to have the first 3 remastered, that's pretty sexy. Yeah. So yeah.
Now, Patrick, don't forget, Andromeda is not just a bad game, though. It's a stepping stone. That way, the developers can make improvements and make better games in the future.
Absolutely.
Or quit the company and go work at a different studio that appreciates them more.
There's definitely a story behind Andromeda. There's got to be a reason why they just strayed away from all of the things that made the first 3 games so good, and I would love to find out like that story. Like for the shooter book, I interviewed the narrative director for the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and he spoke a lot about like why there was such a strong female protagonist and stuff, and it just put a lot of things into perspective. It made me understand that game a lot more and made me appreciate it that much more. And I think if I did an interview with like that Andromeda team, it might make me appreciate that game a little bit more, because as of right now, I don't have much appreciation like overall for the final product. I saw what they were trying to do, but it didn't feel like a Mass Effect game at all.
Fair enough. Well, hopefully the interview's on its way, and then it'll potentially change your perspective.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
If anybody can do it, it's you, Patrick. We believe in you.
Thank you.
And, you know, again, tying to this story a little bit more, like it's just great that these games are coming back around, especially to a lot of new players who haven't been able to experience them. Not to mention, I'm sure this will bring more fanfare and appraise for whatever their next Mass Effect game is that was announced a few months ago at the Game Awards. However long that thing probably isn't going to come out to like 2030, but, you know, that's cool. All right, next up here, God of War PS5 patch with 60 FPS and 4K coming tomorrow? Or I believe it's out today because the story was from yesterday. Santa Monica Studio has officially announced that God of War's PS5 patch will be released tomorrow, February 2nd, or today, and will bring a 4K 60 FPS mode to the PlayStation exclusive. Announced on Santa Monica Studio blog, the free update will replace the current video graphics mode option with a new default setting that will offer the best of both performance and resolution to our PlayStation 5 players. It just makes me happy to see these kind of like updates continue to support the pretty much just better performance with a lot of these PS4 hits on the PS5. I guess you could say it maybe gives new players who are lucky enough to have a PS5 some more content to go back to, considering, you know, the games are very light there. But it's just cool to see this, and, you know, you can clearly see that Santa Monica's studio is working with the PS5 now, and all the more like goodwill to get excited for God of War Ragnarok or whatever comes next.
It's just to think about too, like God of War is a $10 game right now, you know, so you could buy it for $10 in a GameStop and then put it in your PS5 and it's fully optimized for your system. I mean, I know so many people that have bought a PS5 and they're buying PS4 games, and I'm just like, why are you buying PS4 games? And they're just like, oh, because there's not enough games on PS5. And now, if you've never played God of War, I don't know why you wouldn't have played God of War, but if you haven't, now you get to experience it like a PS5 game, or if you have played it, now you get to see it in a brand new way. I'm sure in 60 frames per second, it probably looks stunning as hell. It already looked great before, so that's really good news. Those are like little things that like Sony really needs to do to like get the leg up in this console generation. I like that. That's a good move.
I absolutely agree, and I'm glad to see this being continued. You know, a few weeks ago, I think Ghost of Tsushima got a big like update that it runs better on the PS5. I hope we see more of this kind of stuff, because I agree. I think one of the biggest like backbones for those new consoles is the fact that you can use all your previous gen games, and most of the time they're gonna look better, or at least perform a little bit better, which is neat. But yeah, with that being said, we're gonna continue. Netflix Sonic Prime, Sonic the Hedgehog animated series confirmed for 2022. Netflix has announced an all-new animated Sonic the Hedgehog series, Sonic Prime, set to premiere worldwide in 2022. The animated adventure will consist of 24 episodes, which will follow Sonic on a high-octane adventure where the fate of a strange new multiverse rests in his glove hands. Whilst that might sound like a familiar premise, Netflix notes that the series is more than a race to save the universe, as the blue blur ultimately finds himself on a journey of self-discovery and redemption. Yeah, I thought this would be interesting to bring up, considering, you know, maybe whatever Sonic Prime is could relate to a new Sonic video game in the near future?
Maybe. I mean, as far as like a Sonic animated show, though, the only Sonic shows that I will take seriously are the ones where Jaleel White voices Sonic.
Yeah.
Those, to me,
The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah.
those kicked ass. And like, I've interviewed Jaleel before. He's an awesome guy.
You have? That's cool.
Yeah, he shares my stuff sometimes on Instagram. I did like a fake Family Matters Game Boy cover, and he shared it, and my Instagram just like blew up. So he's an awesome guy. But like, I really think the voice acting he did it on Sonic is awesome.
Yeah, like personally, that's the Sonic that I think of, like that voice. You know, I mean, I know Sonic has like his more modern voice, but like growing up, it was Jaleel White's Sonic voice that is burned in the back of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I will say this though, because like Sonic did have a couple other animated series. Like I think there was Sonic X, like in the early 2000s, and I heard it was not very good. And then there was Sonic Boom, which I heard it had a lot of potential, but it just kind of burned out. So, it's funny, and I'm not even the biggest Sonic fan. I'm a classic Sonic fan, hands down. So, I don't know. I mean, if it's on Netflix, I'll definitely watch this. I'm kind of curious to watch it.
Yeah, it would have been nice if they gave us like anything else. It literally was just the logo and like kind of how the article talked about it, like a very vague premise. It would have been like a piece of key art or anything to kind of paint the picture for us, but it's coming, you know. I also heard that Sonic Boom was pretty funny. All right, and to segue from there, we have some Nintendo Netflix canceled series. Now, Patrick, I want to let you know and all our listeners that here at the Level With Me podcast, we love Nintendo so much that we like to save all the Nintendo news for the end of our news cycle. And this is going to kick off our Nintendo news for the week. Nintendo reportedly canceled a Zelda Netflix series after it leaked. Nintendo reportedly scrapped a live-action Legend of Zelda series with Netflix after news of the project leaked and circulated online. As reported by Eurogamer, U.S. comedian Adam Conover, who was working on a secret Star Fox claymation project around the same time, revealed that Nintendo canceled its proposed slate of video game adaptations with Netflix after someone from the company allegedly spread the word about the Zelda series. The Wall Street Journal shared details of the adaptation, and Nintendo rescinded the show. Suddenly, there were reports Netflix wasn't going to do its Legend of Zelda anymore. Conover recently recalled speaking on the Surf Times podcast. I was like, what happened? And then I heard from my boss we weren't doing our Star Fox anymore. I was like, what happened? He was like, someone at Netflix leaked the Legend of Zelda thing. They weren't supposed to talk about it. Nintendo freaked out, and they pulled the plug on everything, the entire program, to adapt these things. It's really a shame to hear that. It's kind of crazy that Nintendo would literally just scrap the whole project just from a leak.
There must be more to the story than this, because I think that's
absolutely. Something must not have been coming together, or like maybe a higher up kind of canceled these projects. Like, it's just really shocking too. Like, it'd be really cool now to again learn more about this story. Maybe see if there's any like concepts or anything out there. Like, you know, if there was a claymation thing, maybe some of the models, or if there was a live action Zelda thing, maybe some of the like props, costumes. I don't know. I'm just really curious about this now. Like, I just need to know more. And it's a shame hearing about this too, because all this sounds really cool. Apparently, like the Star Fox thing was like a fantastic Mr. Fox or whatever that claymation like team was. It was going to be something like that, I think.
Oh, interesting.
I'm always down for more animated material, and especially stuff that's based on video games. Even more, like I love the Castlevania series on Netflix. I mean, I think that stuff is great. So the fact that we could have had Zelda, that would have been awesome.
Yes, I agree. And I heard that Castlevania series is very good.
I saw I saw it on my like recommended things to watch. That's definitely on my to-do list now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the Zelda thing was live action potentially. That's kind of interesting. I don't think it would work very well with live action, but no, I don't know.
Well, if The Witcher worked, I mean, Zelda could work, you know?
Yeah. And I've been watching I watched the first season of Witcher, and I'm not a Witcher fan, so I'm kind of just going in there like pretty blindly. But I thought it was pretty cool. It's just like maybe it's just me personally because I know Zelda so well. I'm like I guess I have my own expectations that have to be met, and if it's not met with live action, it's like I'm kind of skeptical.
Yeah.
I always give it a shot though. I'll always gives something a chance. Pretty interesting.
Again, for me, it just makes me ask like a lot of questions. Like, if they were gonna do this live action Legend of Zelda thing, would Link have been like a cast member, and would he had to like have talked or something like that? Because traditionally, Link really never talks. It really makes you think. It's very interesting and fascinating.
Yeah.
All right, moving on with more Nintendo news. Nintendo not planning to announce a new Switch model anytime soon. Nintendo has reportedly said that it isn't planning to announce a new model of Switch anytime soon. In an investor Q&A following the announcement of Nintendo's latest earnings report, Bloomberg's Takashi Miyazuki reports that Nintendo president Shuntaro Furukawa was asked whether the company would announce an upgraded model to Switch. His response, not anytime soon. That response was immediately led to discussion of whether it is or isn't a clue as to the future announcement. Previously, Nintendo has offered more concrete denials on a new model, and Furukawa's apparent phrasing here leaves the door more open to an announcement at a later date. I know over the past few months there have been many rumors and speculation. A lot of people have said that this was going to be the year that Nintendo was going to announce some sort of Switch Pro or the next model of the Switch. And just looking at the calendars and how the timing is playing out, that's generally where a new Nintendo console falls. It's about every 5 years, give or take. I just think with the Switch, it's kind of a different story. I think, especially this was a story I didn't even put in here, but I think Reggie just commented how the Switch really was Nintendo's last leg holding it up, because the Wii U was such a other failure or financial failure for them. And I think the Switch is going to have a very longevity or long console cycle that we've never seen Nintendo do before.
Well, see, this is the thing too. The Switch is a hybrid console. Nintendo has had its most success with handheld consoles. I mean, if you take away the Game Boy Advance, the Game Boy Color, the DS, the 3DS, Nintendo's not around anymore. They'd be like Sega. They'd still be producing really solid, games, but they'd be doing on other consoles. All of those handheld consoles kept them afloat, and they've destroyed everyone who even tried to come close to them. So the Switch is really it's just a modified handheld console. So I feel like they're treating it a little bit differently, and the 3DS just got retired. I mean, that system was around for a decade, roughly. So I expect the same thing for the Switch.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that Miyamoto was talking about the Switch having a whole decade for a life cycle, approximately. So I can definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying, Patrick, where yes, the Nintendo has always had a strong handheld life cycle, and yeah, with the Switch being this hybrid thing, I think they have a lot of time to hold this market and work on the console and just improve or develop the games even better, because they've been working with the hardware for such a long amount of time. I even think there could be something to be said about the support from the different indie developers as well as other third-party studios actually putting more modern games on the Switch.
Sure.
I mean, it's impressive to see Doom Eternal running on a Nintendo Switch. Granted, it's not the best way to play Doom Eternal, but you gotta say that it's cool that thing exists.
I definitely think the Switch has so much more potential for success. I mean, think about it. There's really not a strong presence of mainstream sports games on there. There's no hockey game. There's no football game. There's not a quality wrestling title on there. There's not really a high quality baseball game on there. FIFA runs well on the Switch, but I mean, there's so many different opportunities they have to sell millions upon millions of more games that they haven't even touched yet, and the console's been out for over 5 years. So it's crazy.
Yeah, but I've definitely have said I've said my piece about certain developers like EA with all these sports titles, and they just don't give the Switch a chance. It's kind of like I think it's actually kind of foolish considering how successful the Switch is.
Sad.
But yeah.
But with that being said, we're going to move on and kind of transition off the same kind of article here. Nintendo Switch console sales have passed the 3DS. Animal Crossing New Horizons sold 31 million copies worldwide. Nintendo has announced that as of December 31st, 2020, the Nintendo Switch has officially passed the 3DS with 79.87 million console units sold.
That's so good.
Thank you, COVID-19. That played a huge role in that.
Definitely.
I mean, when I think of like quarantine life 20 years from now, I'm definitely going to think of the fact that like I live in a 3-floor home and all 3 floors were playing Animal Crossing with each other while quarantining. Like we didn't see each other, but we were all sharing oranges and stuff with each other. Like it's just wild. Animal Crossing, it's almost like Nintendo planned COVID. That's how perfectly it all came together for them.
It really does seem like that. And yeah, it was such a beautiful time with Animal Crossing. Like that game got supported so well, and it had so much like community talk on social medias and everything, with just how that game just found the perfect opportunity in the pandemic to bring people together. And what kind of fruit do you have? Oh, what kind of items do you get on your shop? Oh, you have the red chairs? I have blue chairs. You got to give me the red chairs. I'll give you the blue ones. It's such a great thing. And yeah, I still think it's kind of crazy that, around the beginning of the pandemic, it was hard to find a Nintendo Switch. You could barely even find the light models, But to continue the story here, as revealed in Nintendo's latest financial earnings released for the 9-month period ending December 31st, 2020, Animal Crossing New Horizons is getting even closer to passing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's 33.41 million units sold as the best-selling Nintendo Switch game. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is the third best-selling Switch game with 22.85 million units sold, followed by Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild, 21.45 million units, Pokemon Sword and Shield's 20.35 million units, and Super Mario Odyssey's 23 million units. Crazy numbers. Yeah. Yeah, I think Nintendo's doing quite well. Wii U who?
Yeah, everyone's talking about investing in GameStop. Bro, invest in Nintendo stocks. It's going to get big, in my opinion, personally. The company is just doing so well with the Switch.
Yeah, they're going to outdo themselves with the Switch, too. They're really going to hit their stride. And last but not least here with our Nintendo news, Bayonetta 3. You thought it was dead.
Oh, my goodness.
It's been quiet for many, many years. Hideki Kamiya says it's safe to expect news this year. Platinum Games may break its silence on Bayonetta 3 in 2021 as game director Hideki Kamiya says it's safe to expect news on the long-awaited Switch exclusive sometime this year. In an interview with VGC, Kamiya was asked about providing an update on Bayonetta 3 in 2021, to which he replied, "It's not really our position to say, but it's January. We've got to have something come out, right? I guess it's safe to expect that something will come out. There's still a lot of this year left, is what I'm saying." That game has just been... honestly, it's just, I think, a problem you're seeing with a few games nowadays where they just get announced way too early, and maybe the scope of the game kind of gets like a little blown out, and, they just need more time to develop. But it would be nice to just have a little bit of updates here and there,
Yeah. That's how I'm feeling with Prime 4. It's just, I'm sure the Bayonetta fans are all, they're sharing my pain right now.
Right. It is kind of crazy, though. Like, that literally got announced, like, the year right after the Switch came out. Like, or it might have been at the end of the year that the Switch came out. Like, this is coming out. And I know Bayonetta 2 was a huge thing for a lot of people on the Wii U.
I mean, it was one of the only reasons to really get excited about that console. So
Pretty much.
So yeah, I'm excited for 3 also. I mean, it's one of those games that is just so rooted in really sexy, hard, gameplay. So there's so many games out there that are hard just for the sake of being hard, but then there are games out there that are hard, but you're rewarded by playing them and getting good at them. And I feel like Bayonetta has that perfect balance of like difficulty, but like a beauty in like learning the game and getting as good as you need to beat bosses. It's like Mega Man is another one of those games that really rewards the player for getting good. I feel like Bayonetta does it wonderfully as well.
I agree, yeah. And I think that's why it's cool, yeah. And I'm excited to see what happens with Bayonetta 3, as I'm sure many other people are. But with that being said, that is going to wrap up our news segment for the week. And now we're going to move into our second segment of the podcast, which is our watching and playing segment, where we're going to talk about what things we've been watching and playing over the past week. And we're just going to do the honors and say, Patrick, why don't you take it away first?
I'm wrapping up 2 books right now. So I'm wrapping up the minds behind the Sega Genesis games and the minds behind the Sony PlayStation games. So I've been playing a lot of games on those consoles. Just kind of like tightening up the research, the fact finding, and stuff like that. So I'm just like trying to find games that are influenced by some of the games that are in the book. So just lots of like little playtime of this and that, But I started my 7th book. I would say like right after Thanksgiving, and I've been interviewing a lot of developers for that console that book is going to be on. So lots and lots of pitches and gameplay from that system. So that's been pretty wild. Just for fun, like my fun gaming, like it's very rare that I even get to play anything for fun. Like this Sunday, I was joking around with my wife that I got like a half hour with Outer Worlds on the Switch, and most of that time was spent watching loading screens. But that's pretty much like that. And then I got to play Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 on Nintendo 64 for like 20 minutes today. So that was like my fun gaming and not research for books.
Hey, well that's cool to hear. No problem with that. We're just curious. We talk about it on the podcast, but
sure.
Hey, that no problem. I'm sure many of the listeners will be curious to know what console you're talking about, and I'm sure they can learn about that.
PlayStation 2? What?
Ooh,
What?
I was gonna say they could follow you and keep an eye on it, but now they definitely know if you like the PS2.
I just wanted you to ask if I made it easy for you, then So yeah, tons of PS2. The past couple of weeks. I just interviewed one of the lead developers on The Thing for PlayStation 2. That was such a really cool like survival horror game. And speaking to a couple of former Zipper Interactive people, so I would love to do something on SOCOM in the PS2 book. So it's been a lot of fun. Like I've already got 32 developers confirmed for the PlayStation 2 book. So it's just the last week has been insane, just trying to get everyone to send me answers and to communicate and stuff like that. But PS2, freaking great system that, I mean, totally deserves a book dedicated to it.
Oh, I 100% agree. The PS2 for me was a console I kind of just late bloomed into. Like it was right before I hit that right stride where I fell in love with video games. And I didn't get to play too much on there, but just looking back and seeing the all the games that came out on that system, it's impressive, dude. There's some hits on there, man.
See, like I'm a little bit older than you probably, so it's just like PlayStation was like the first system that I was like an active consumer on. Like I got to buy my own games, and then when PlayStation 2 came out, I was like 19 or 20. So it was just like, yeah, this isn't anyone else in the family system. This is mine.
Don't touch it.
Yeah, and I'm gonna play Tekken Tag until 4:00 in the morning, and
Yeah.
like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 and SOCOM and EverQuest late online. I mean, I had the hard drive on my PlayStation 2. Like I was totally invested in that system. To me, it's a super special system to me.
I agree. I thought it was really cool. A few months ago, I learned how like that loading screen will change depending on how many game saves you have. in your PS2. You know, like I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's a small attention to detail that you never really think about. But yeah, that's really cool to hear. Mike, do you want to talk about your week, or do you want me to go first or second, technically?
I'll go because unfortunately I've been working so much. I don't have too much to talk about, but I'll definitely talk about what I've been watching recently. So this week, you know, despite the typical stuff that I tend to watch, there was another show that caught my eye, and this was not on Netflix or anything. It was just somewhere on demand. This show was based on a movie of the same title called Snowpiercer. I think, and Snowpiercer was a movie that came out like in the early 2010s. I want to say maybe like 2012, I guess. And they actually made, I think over the last year, started a TV series called Snowpiercer. And I wanted to give it a shot because I thought the movie was kind of cool. And just kind of give everyone like a brief synopsis. Snowpiercer is a movie about like it's like a post-apocalyptic times, in which case there's like another ice age, I think. So the whole world is covered in snow and ice, and humans can't live in it. It's way too cold for humans to live in this world. So in this post-apocalyptic world, it's hard to say, humans live on a gigantic train, a train that just never stops running. It's kind of like some scientists designed this train to, like, you know, in lieu of the apocalypse happening and this like, you know, global ice age. And so only certain people, I guess like the world's richest and finest people, were able to live on this train that just again, it just runs around the entire planet on like one giant train track like forever. Because obviously, if it stops moving, then the train might freeze. So it just constantly keeps moving. And in the train are all different like types of cars. Like there's a car for where the people live. Then there's like restaurants, but there's like aquariums. There's actually it's kind of like as if like when you see like movies about like people trying to like start like life on new planets. This whole train has like different ecosystems to keep trees and plants alive inside of it, livestock for food and for like, you know, it's really interesting. But in the back of the very last final car of the train is where like they're like the slums where people live in like squalor and they have to eat like cockroaches and everything to survive. It's like it's really like interesting where like these people are like just these people are just like slaves isn't even the right word. They're like lower than dirt to everyone else on the train. It's pretty interesting. And again, there's more to it. Actually, Chris Evans from the guy who plays Captain America stars in that movie. But anyway, so now there's a TV show about it, and it kind of goes into a bit more detail where like they're bringing someone from the very back of the train up to the front of the train because he's like the only detective of everyone on the entire train. So it's like where there was like a murder that took place. So now they have to bring someone from the back of the train up to the front of the train to solve a murder mystery. And I'm still currently on season 1. I think season 2 just began, so I'll have to unfortunately wait for that to keep continuing. But so far it's pretty good. I would highly recommend someone try watching the movie first and then give the show a shot.
That seems really interesting. I've definitely heard of the name Snowpiercer before, but never looked into it.
Yeah, it's on TNT, right?
I don't recall. It might be that maybe that's where the show actually is airing. I was just watching it like on demand, so I'm not sure what actual channel it's on.
Yeah, it sounds like Battlestar Galactica on a train. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it's funny because the thing is, like in the movie and the show, like you can tell these people are literally just on a train. Like, you know, it's obviously like a high tech train, but like they just live their whole lives on a train that never stops. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's kind of been like the new thing I watched this week. So what I've been playing, unfortunately, nothing really new. I've just been playing my most recently 2 games. We did finish on our one Let's Play. I finished Donkey Kong Country for Level With Me. So if you guys want to go watch that, I'm currently uploading all the episodes. I think we have I have episode 3 that just went live. So, but Corey and I were, Corey watched me play Donkey Kong Country. That's a lot of fun playing that game again for like the nth time. I'm not even sure how many times I played that game. I did get back to playing Yooka-Laylee in the Impossible Lair. Not much more to say about that. It's just, you know, I love the level design for this game. I still love the music. The game has just been very enjoyable. I I can't really give any bad comments on the game, at least as of yet. I mean, I'm not going to act like the game's perfect, but I'm still really enjoying that game. And I think I'm finally going to be getting close to the end of Doom Eternal. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I just after the last level I just played, which actually was really cool. It was I'll talk about that. I have almost every weapon except for one missing weapon, and I'm pretty sure that's the BFG. So that kind of indicates I think I'm getting close to the end of the game. Maybe like, I don't know, maybe 2 more stages, but who knows. But yeah, the game's still amazingly fun. Just recently I had like another mini boss fight, and this guy was cool. I think they're called I think it's called a Marauder, and this guy just looked like Shao Kahn from like Mortal Kombat. It was really thick, and he was tough. Apparently, he was completely immune to all of my attacks. You had to shoot him when he attacked you, kind of like a counterattack. And he was tough. He has like a giant, like red glowing axe, and he summoned like some kind of like spirit wolf that would attack you as he's attacking you. Like there were a couple times where I thought I was gonna die, but really cool boss fight. And yeah, that game is just. I'm telling everybody, if you need a good little like first person shooter to play right now, Doom Eternal is really good. And so yeah, but that was my week. Nothing too crazy, but fun stuff.
All right, does that mean it's my turn to go?
It's your turn, Corey.
All right, if you insist. All right. As in terms of what I've been watching this week, I wrapped up FLCL Alternative, and that was really good. I've always been a huge fan of FLCL. And a few years ago, they released these 2 like little sequel type seasons, Progression and Alternative. And Progression was kind of like a sequel type thing, like a few years after the events of the original one. And then this one, Alternative, was almost actually just like the title implies, like just an alternative take on what kind of happened in the original story. And but both of these like sequels were like both like fun and like pretty good, but they didn't have like something in the original series that like quite captured me. But I thought they were like, a lot of I enjoyed what was going on there. I like the characters, I like the story, the artwork is still there, and of course you have the great music by the Pillows in all the episodes. So I just really liked what was going on there. I thought that was really good. And because I wrapped that up, I needed a new anime to start. They're nice and short too. They're like 6 episodes a season, so it's pretty much like watching a movie to complete them. But I started watching this anime called Darling in the Franxx, and so this is an interesting series. So it takes place sometime in the future, and I'm only 2 episodes deep, so I don't quite know what's going on just yet. But there appear to be these like robot dinosaur like creatures in the world, and
shit already.
So for some reason they use these like mechs to like fight these robot dinosaur things, and the mechs are called the Franxx, and they have 2 like teenage children pilot the mechs, and I guess only children can pilot the mechs. And it's kind of got a Pacific Rim type thing going on where you need like 2 people to be like in synchronization to like control these mechs. But because it's an anime, the mechs all are like these android female slightly busty characters, and then how the teenage children pilot the mechs is kind of interesting because the women are kind of like on all fours in this mech, and like the guy like sits behind them. So it's very lewd because they're in these very skin tight mech suit things, and the whole time I'm just like, all right, am I gonna get arrested for watching this show? Like, is this actually okay? I know I paid for my Crunchyroll premium, but I'm like, okay, it's very anime, it's very lewd. There's a lot of comments like, oh, get the machine to work. Why is it not, up, or, suggested implied jokes here and there. And I'm enjoying it for what it is. It seems interested. I'm there for the story, guys. I really don't care about the lewdness or anything like that, but
sure, Corey, sure.
It seems pretty cool. And it's by Studio Trigger. They've done things like Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann. So their like art style and visuals are always really good and really crazy. And like I said, I like what's going on. I think the mechs look cool. I like these robot dinosaur enemies. They seem interesting. And
Oh,
like I
yeah.
said, the thing that's going on in the world is it seems like there aren't any children besides these children who pilot these mechs. It seems like everyone else is an adult. So it's kind of interesting there. Like, it's almost like, oh, the children are designed to, like, just pilot these mechs almost. So I just want to learn more about the world. I'm kind of curious about this. I have heard that it kind of goes a little sour around the end of the series, but I want to see it myself and see what happens with it. And then other than that, I also started watching Disenchantment, Mike. I know you talked about that a few weeks ago. And I've been slowly just keeping up with that, just watching a few episodes here and there. Not like too serious into it, but I think it's funny. I've been enjoying what I'm watching from there. I like the characters. I get some decent like laughs, and I kind of talked about it last week where I mostly don't watch a lot of this like animated adult humor. I watched a lot of that when I was growing up, like Family Guy, South Park, that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of really like missing that kind of entertainment. So this is almost like I have a little bit of nostalgia for this type of stuff. So just like watching it, I'm enjoying it. Like, I'm double enjoying it. Like, it's funny, and I'm also like, oh, I do like these kind of shows. I miss this kind of stuff. All right, but with that being said, I can talk about what I've been playing this week. So I've been kind of in this weird state of where I kind of don't really know what I want to play. So I've been playing like a bunch of games here and there, putting a few hours into a few things. So I've been playing some more Cyberpunk 2077 on the PS4. And there was actually an update that came out, I think, last week or so. And it actually made the PS4 version run way better. I was surprised. It seemed much more smoother. A lot of the character models were like loading slightly quicker. It just overall made it real better. And just with that, like, it just made me enjoy the game slightly more now that's actually just running smoothly. I'm still not 100% in love with Cyberpunk 2077. I think the gameplay overall is a little boring. What I more prefer is like the story and like actually creating your character, which is pretty fun. I like what's going on with there's like a big hack component to that game, and I think those hacks are a lot of fun, especially you get all sorts of like cool little things that you can do to characters. For example, I just got this hack which is called like contamination, and you can like spread like a little sickness to the enemies, and like if other enemies come in contact with them, they'll start to get the sickness and they take like a little bit of damage. And you can
Sounds
almost
like a perk from the Fallout series.
Yeah, and you can almost like just basically wipe out all the enemies with just using this like sickness that you kind of transmit to them. And I like to play like stealth game or like stealth builds in like the Fallout series and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm just naturally doing in Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk has kind of got a lot of elements like a Fallout game, so to say.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. I've been enjoying that like here and there. I've also been playing a little bit more Super Smash Bros. Ultimate online. Like I mentioned last week, it's fun, but the online Smash Ultimate is definitely not the same as playing locally, so sometimes I can be a bit frustrating and I bounce off of it, but when it's working, it's pretty fun. I do want to say I've been pretty hooked on Overwatch on the PS4. I got really back into that. I used to play a lot of Overwatch like the first year or two after it came out. Like, I was playing every night. I always had like a different friend group to go play multiplayer games with, but then it just kind of like faded out of my routine and schedule. I don't know. I just moved on. But one of my friends and friend of the channel, Abra, he started playing Overwatch again on PS4, and I was just like, oh, dude, I have that. Or my girlfriend had a copy of it, so I just installed it on my PS4. And we started playing, and I ended up just playing by myself because I was enjoying it so much. I don't know, man. Just like being back in the routine of the game and the rhythm of it, it feels good. It feels natural. I'm doing pretty well still, even though I haven't played in a few years. Of course, they added like new characters and new maps, and it's been fun for me, like learning that kind of stuff. So I've just been enjoying that. And I've been playing with my girlfriend. Like, me and Megan will kind of like couch back and forth the game. So like I'll play a match, then I'll be like, oh, okay, now you can play the next match. And we've just been really enjoying that too, like talking about the game and sharing like our grievances. Like, oh, that guy, he's such a good like Genji, man. It's so annoying. He's just like destroying us, you know, like that kind of stuff. It's just fun. And then besides that, I've been playing a little bit more Apex Legends. I'm kind of falling a little bit off of that, which is really a shame because I know there's just a new season that came out. But I don't know if I'm necessarily going to get back into that. I'm kind of just really been enjoying playing Overwatch again. I do want to point out that I did play a match of Apex Legends, and I got a win where I didn't have any kills. I was literally just following like the two other guys, like looting the chests and getting better armor and weapon attachments, but I basically did nothing. I was basically just like watching people like, play the game and do really well. So I thought that was kind of funny. And yeah, that's pretty much been my week.
Nice.
And with that being said, we are going to move into our final segment of the podcast where we take questions from y'all, the listeners. All right, so you have two ways of taking in questions. You can either send in a email at levelwithmepodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a question directly through our Instagram account, which is Level With Me Podcast on Instagram. And wherever you send us a question, you will get a shout out. And the questions, they really don't necessarily have any sort of topics. They could be about video games. They could be about collectibles. They could be about food. They could just be about life. We just like to, kind of have a nice little community building event here, as well as just have fun with it, So just send us whatever kind of questions you want. Mike, do we have any questions this week?
Unfortunately, no, we do not from the Instagram account. I feel bad because we have our special guest today. I was kind of hoping we'd have some good questions for him to answer, from our fans, but I'm afraid nothing this week.
That's unfortunate, yeah. And there was none on the Gmail. I checked that as well. But, there's always next week. It's not that big of a deal.
I think we asked Patrick enough questions. I'm sure he was probably hoping no more questions.
Right. I was going to say we had a nice, Q&A in the beginning, so guess we just switched it around a little bit.
It's all gravy.
But with that being said, then we're going to wrap up the podcast for this week. If you guys want to check us out, again, that's Level With Me. You can give us a follow wherever you're listening to this, on Podbean, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. I've been recently going around, been trying to add more places to listen to the podcast. You can also, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. And we have new Let's Plays coming out. Like Mike said, we have parts of Donkey Kong Country, the first one that we did. I just recently uploaded the last episode of the Luigi's Mansion 3 Let's Play. So the whole Let's Play is up on YouTube if you guys want to check that out. There's also a new Let's Play that's going to be going up very soon. Me and Mike checked out No More Heroes, and that's been going really great. We're hoping to probably play some more of that very soon, so you can check that out. As for me, I am GameBro Corey. You can follow me on twitch.tv at GameBro Corey, as well as Instagram and Twitter. I, again, hope to be streaming in the near future. I'm getting very excited. I got big plans for when I come back to streaming. Mike, do you want to plug your stuff real quick?
Sure. If you guys ever want to find me, you can find me at the house of the CEO for Robinhood. I'll be yelling at him why he won't let me buy GameStop stock. No seriousness. Yeah, I'm Mike from the Collector's Vault. You can find me on Instagram and YouTube. We'll have everything linked down below if you guys like collectibles. Becomes old video games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all that fun stuff. Please give me a follow. I would really appreciate it. And I know Patrick mentioned it earlier, but here, Patrick, we'll give you a second chance to plug yourself. Tell the fans where they can find you.
Yeah, sure. I am on Facebook at facebook.com /Patrick Hickery Jr. I'm on Twitter at ReviewFixPat. However, I spend the majority of my time on Instagram at Patrick Hickery Jr. One word. And like I said, if you're interested in buying the book, you can contact me directly on Instagram, or you can go to patrickhickeryjr.com and order your personalized copy there. If you just want it like tomorrow and you want next day shipping, it's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, Indigo, wherever fine books are sold. So yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere. So I'm Google verified. So however you want to get in contact with me, I'm on LinkedIn as well. So just reach out and you'll get an answer.
Patrick, I just want to say thank you once again for coming onto the podcast. It's been a great time talking with you and learning a little bit more about you. I'm curious about your books and your personal life or your work, so to say. I'm sure I'll get quite familiar with it. And like I mentioned previously, all the links is going to be in the description if you guys want to go check that out. But that's really it, man. I think we can call this a podcast. I think we're done here.
Awesome, man. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I'm gonna repeat what Corey just said, but yeah, Patrick, we really do appreciate you reaching out, and we were happy to have you on here. We learned a lot about you. We just learned a lot about games in general, and maybe who knows? Maybe in the future we could always do another collaboration. Maybe after some more of your books become available. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, sure. Like I said, the Minds Behind the Shooter games should be out in like the next month. The Padre One Shell Straight to Hell comes out next week on February 9th on Steam. So definitely going to have a lot of stuff to talk about. And some of the stuff that I can talk about, I will be able to talk about in the future. So looking forward to the future and would definitely love to come back at some point.
Awesome.
Yeah, really great stuff. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, now some final words. Final.
Yeah.
In a world where Mike tries to impersonate Pablo Francisco, Patrick has to step in and do the voice correctly. In a world, one man, one show, the final word. Tortilla.
That's all I got. Yeah.
Meatball pizza.
Oh, the best pizza.
That's what they came for.